Good morning. This is the Talk Shop in Studio 255. I'm Eric Henderson with in Studio 255 guest Ken Chestek, House District 13 representative for Albany County, Wyoming. And with me in studio, great to have you, Ken. Good to have you in studio today.
Thanks for having me.
It's a wonderful opportunity to meet with elected officials and those campaigning for public office. But public service is a unique bird, and most genuinely want to thank you for your willingness to serve our community.
Well, thank you. I truly believe this is public service. It's a way to stay involved in the community and try and make the world a better place, and specifically the state of Wyoming a better place. And I'm very happy to be able to serve.
Born in Cincinnati, Ohio,
Yeah.
How did you make your way to the great state of Wyoming in Laramie, Wyoming, the gem city of the plains?
It was a kind of a winding path. Obviously, my dad was an engineer for General Electric, so as a GE family, we moved around as a kid a little bit, but I spent a lot of time in Pennsylvania, high school, college, and law school in Pennsylvania. And then when I decided I wanted to go into teaching, you can't just say, I want to go to a specific place and go teach there. There has to be an opening, and there has to be a matching process, and it's pretty random as to where you end up. So I ended up first at the University of Michigan, then Indiana University in Indianapolis, and then here. The jobs kept actually growing. The job here was a tenure track position. The other two were not. So this is a better job, and happy to be in Wyoming and been here now 14 years.
14 years. You and your wife, Robin, is it?
Yes.
You have children and grandchildren. Tell us about some of those.
Well,
those highlights, if you will, because you get in trouble if you miss anybody.
Have a son and two granddaughters in Chicago, outside of Chicago. He's an emergency room doctor, and she's a psychologist, and two lovely granddaughters there. In Denver, we have two more daughters. One is a nurse, and one works in the hospitality industry she and her husband own a restaurant, and they each have one child, so we have two grandchildren there, a boy and a girl, and that was part of the reason we wanted to come out west, too, was we knew that grandchildren were likely to be coming out to Denver, so we decided to come here before the grandchildren arrived, and we did. We managed to get here, and then the grandchildren started showing up. So
anticipated joys.
Yes.
Good, good. Well, you have entered the representative realm how long ago now?
This is my fourth year. This is the second year of my second term. So okay. I've served 3 years, and now this is the beginning of my fourth year in the legislature.
All in House District 13?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you are one of 4 representatives for Wyoming and Albany County. Trey Sherwood, House District 14. Carly Provenza, House District 45, Ocean Andrew, House District 46, and yourself representing House District 13. How are those districts broken up or set and established, Ken?
Well, there was a whole redistricting process that happened 4 years ago to reapportion the districts based on the 2020 census. And it actually worked out pretty well. Albany County turned out that could be divided into 4 districts. Every district in the state has to be about 10,000 people, and it worked out perfectly that Albany County could have 4 districts within the county boundaries.
Okay.
So they divided up in 4 parts, Carly's District 45 and mine are basically
adjacent.
Are adjacent. Most of the city of Laramie is in those 2 districts. Part of the city of Laramie is also in Trey Sherwood's district, but she has a the northeast part of Laramie and northern Albany County, and then Ocean Andrew is District 46, covers basically
Sherwood
all
and Andrew kind of city, but rural, mostly rural.
Yeah, 46 is almost all rural. It has some West Laramie, but it's mostly rural and House District 14, Trey's district, has all the Vista area, and then northern part of Laramie County, of Albany County.
In the Senate side of the legislature, I noticed something unique as I was preparing for our interview this morning. Chris Rothfuss, Senate District 9 representative, and Gary Crum, Senate District 10. But the unique thing for me was that Larry Hicks represents a part of Albany County, mostly Carbon County, but there's a part of it is represented as Senate District 11, and to my knowledge, I hadn't known that until I looked at the districting and how it's all broken up, and I found that unique. I don't know that that's widely known.
That is no longer true.
No, it's no longer. So that's old info.
That's old info. That he used to have Rock River area.
Okay.
In the prior district.
And how long ago did we straighten that out from that standpoint?
4 years ago.
4 years. 4 years ago. Lots happened.
With redistricting, the House District or Senate District 11 is now no longer in Albany County. So that changed with the redistricting that created the current system. Well,
I am proudly willing to profess my willingness to be a lifelong learner. So as that goes, we learn something together. You know, how often do you really recognize that when people talk and they come together and they actually actively listen, we can learn a lot together, can't we?
And that's why I'm happy to be here to have a conversation about some important issues. I learn a lot. I'm a lifetime learner. I'm an educator. You know, I educate adults at the law school. So I'm all about education and learning.
When you look at your personal endeavors, Wyoming Promise is something you're personally interested in. Tell us about Wyoming Promise.
Wyoming Promise is a nonprofit organization devoted to getting money out of politics. I've always thought that money in politics is the index issue. It's issue zero. There's a lot of things that we need to solve, a lot of problems we need to solve, but you can't solve any of those problems until you solve the problem of money in politics. Because every time you try and solve a problem, there's an interest group with lots of money on the other side fighting you, and they can put a lot of money into the political system, and you're always fighting against some well-funded opponent. So until we find a way to get money out of politics and let the people's voices be heard, we're fighting up an uphill battle. So we formed Wyoming Promise, 10 years ago at least.
Okay.
How's
Wyoming Promise structured? Is it a?
It's a 501c3 corporation.
All right.
And it takes its name. We have borrowed the name from a group called American Promise, and we're not affiliated with it, but we work with American Promise. And American Promise is a nationwide organization that is fighting this issue, and the way they're fighting it is trying to get an amendment to the U.S. Constitution that says essentially money is not speech, and corporations are not people. Corporations should not have the right of political speech and the ability to throw millions and hundreds of millions of dollars at issues and drown out the voices of American citizens.
Is the promise or the hope of Wyoming Promise zero contributions, and we're door knocking once again, we're going door to door, we're really actively doing that as candidates for office? Or is there a limit of X amount that's proposed? Or maybe it's different nationally versus locally in terms of the Wyoming Promise versus the American Promise? Tell us about that if you don't mind.
The goal is not to ban all money, it's to ban corporate money.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically to return the response. Our elected leaders, especially at the national level, are beholden to the large corporations that have basically, after Citizens United, have no limits at all on how much money they can throw into these issue corporations, independent expenditures. And so they can put hundreds of millions of dollars into independent expenditure organizations, and they can put out anything they want without any control. And my voice, I don't have $100 million to give to a candidate. I don't have $1 million. I don't have $10,000 I can give to a candidate, right? So the voices of individuals are being drowned out by these large corporations. We want to preserve the right of individuals to make contributions in their own name, which is legal now. There are limits on that, which are fine. I think that's appropriate to have limits on the amount you can give, but as long as everybody plays by the same rules. But the problem is the corporations have a different set of rules, and that's what we're trying to eliminate.
Well, outside of Wyoming Promise and the limitations that are gold there, you've written, day before yesterday, you published The Freedom Caucus is Playing Games with Budget.
Yes.
So another money trail,
right,
for our world to consider. What's the thesis of this article for our listeners?
So the point of the article was a commentary on some of the actions that the Joint Appropriations Committee for the legislature has taken this week.
Who sits on that, Ken?
There are, I think...
is there 7?
I forget the numbers. I think there's 9.
Okay, so there's more.
Yeah, I think there's 9 House members and 5 Senate members.
Very
I
good.
believe.
Okay, thanks.
And but the House side is the majority of the membership is Freedom Caucus.
Okay.
And the Freedom Caucus has a majority control of the House of Representatives. They don't have a majority in the Senate, but they do have the House. So the Freedom Caucus has stacked that committee with its loyal members who are pushing what I see as a political agenda. They're not necessarily looking for what's best for Wyoming citizens. They're looking for what's best for their viewpoints. They're pushing a right-wing political agenda. And doing so, they're making some cuts that are very harmful to ordinary Wyoming citizens. They're making significant cuts to the University of Wyoming. They're eliminating the Wyoming Business Council, which I think is a terrible idea. And they're basically saying that young people need not apply, need not stay. When you cut higher education, you cut the one tool that we have to create new jobs and innovate in the business world, you're basically saying that we don't want any more opportunities for young people in our state. That's what I think is the problem with what they're doing. They'll go to the microphone and piously whine about how young people are leaving the state. We have to find a way to keep young people here. And then they start cutting higher education, they start cutting job creation and innovation, and they're not allowing for any opportunities for young people to be here. They won't fund anything to create affordable housing. So they're making it hard for young people to stay in the state. So the point of the article was to call them out and basically say that what they're doing is harmful to young people in the state.
One of the things most striking to me as I read your piece was that the Joint Appropriations Committee, by its Freedom Caucus members, is not a serious budget proposal.
Right.
And you talk about context. Would you expand on that principle for us?
Yes. Okay. So one of I'm still teaching. I'm sort of retired from the University of Wyoming Law School, although I still teach one course a year. And the one course I teach is contract drafting. And in that course, and in several other courses I've taught there, I teach a unit on negotiation theory. Because in my course, my students actually negotiate a contract and then write the contract to document what they negotiated. So I cover negotiation. And the first thing I tell them is when you're in a negotiation or when you're in a transaction of some sort, you have to identify what context you're in. And there's couple different contexts. There's integrative context, there's cooperative context, there's competitive context. When people think of negotiation, you think primarily of the competitive context, the buying a car, the buying a used car. It's a zero-sum game. Every dollar I give, the other side gets. So the sum of the transaction is zero. And that's normal. That's what most people think of as negotiations. The Freedom Caucus, the other context would be integrative context, where everybody wins. It's a plus-sum game. So I think legislating should be a plus-sum game where everybody wins. That's the whole idea of government is to create a situation so everybody can thrive. All boats rise at the same time. But the Freedom Caucus is taking this on as a competitive context. This is an opening bid. Their cuts are not serious. I don't think they expect them all to go through. I think they're trying to gather chits. They're trying to gather negotiating material. By proposing these cuts, they're going to try and trade them for other things. And what they're going to trade them for are some concessions onto their right-wing agenda.
You talk about the 2026 legislative session beginning in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just 3 weeks ahead.
Right.
And you're obviously working all year long on matters concerning your commitment as a House District 13 representative for Albany County. What are some of those things that you're doing to prepare for the upcoming session just weeks away?
Well, all summer long, we've been going to interim committee meetings. I'm a member of the Judiciary Committee and the Select Water Committee. They have meetings over the summer. We consider bills in each of these committees. We debate the bills and either sponsor them or not sponsor them. And then we're also working on individual bills where have different. So there's two different ways a bill comes to the legislature. This is the committee proposes it, or an individual legislator proposes it. So the individual bills, I've got a couple that I'm working on and trying to get co-sponsors now on.
How many can you propose each session?
In the House, there's no limit. The Senate, I think, has a limit of 5 per senator. There's no limit in the House, but there's a practical limit in that because this is a...
How long is session?
This is a short session. The session coming up is 4 weeks.
What determines that, Ken?
The Constitution.
Okay.
We have... so one legislature consists of 2 years. You're elected to a 2-year term. And the first year is what's called the general session, where anybody can propose anything, and it's wide open.
So this will be a budget.
This is the budget session. The second one is the shorter one is only 1 month, and it's the budget session. And the only bill that gets automatically introduced is the budget bill. Everything else has to pass an introduction vote. You need 2/3 of the members of either chamber to say, I want to hear this bill, and then it goes on. So as a result of that, there's a high threshold, a 2/3 vote to introduce it, and also the short time we have makes it really impractical to hear a lot of other bills besides the budget. And this year, the budget bill is going to be a real bear to try and work through.
How so?
Well, that's what the article's about, because it's a competition now. It's not, the debate is.
How do you effectively, let's ask this question. How do you effectively respond when a competitive context is at play?
Well, if one side becomes competitive and the other side is cooperative, the side that's competitive always wins. So the only thing you can do when your opponent is being competitive is you've got to be competitive too. So and competitive.
Because one's more willing to compromise than the other.
Yes, a cooperative context, you're looking for the win-win. Both sides are looking for a way that both sides can get what they need and both sides can win. Competitive context is one side wins, the other side loses. That's what it means to be competitive. And when the Freedom Caucus is starting off with all the competitive tactics, the context means if you're in a competitive context, that means that the tactics you use are extreme positions, a lot of debate, belittling the other side. The concessions you meet to go towards the middle are very small, and there's a lot of disparagement. It's an uncomfortable thing to be. To go
tug of war and pull the flag across the center line to your side of the world.
That's a great analogy. It's a very tough tug of war, and if one side is competitive, the other side has to be competitive in order to protect what they want to accomplish. So we know we're going to be in a very competitive budget session. It's clear from the tactics that the Freedom Caucus is using, and that means we're going to be at each other's throats. It's going to be very difficult to get anything done. So the budget negotiation this session is going to occupy most of our time. So getting anything else done is going to be very difficult.
There were 4 principles that I found from the Wyoming Freedom Caucus website. Their website noted parental rights, election integrity, protecting children, and homeschool freedom. Right. Those were the 4 primary. What else have you seen in the legislative realm that perhaps goes beyond that or might expand on some of those most importantly?
Well, what's interesting to note about that list of 4 things is that the budget is not on the list. Right? The session is supposed to be about the budget, and they didn't list that as a priority. Another indication that they're being very competitive. They're trying to push through their right-wing agenda. They're using the budget as their hostage taking.
I will acknowledge in reading 100% of their site, they do imply some fiscal, everybody says fiscally responsible principles, and therefore the downsizing of government comes into the implication there.
Right. And again, that's their political agenda. They want to downsize the government. They fundamentally do not trust government. And I think, okay, that's their agenda. I understand that that's their position. I disagree with that position. I think government's job is to lift all boats and to help everybody on an equal basis, and I think we can do that if we do it fairly. I don't want big government. I want the right size of government.
Do we have the right size of government? Or during your 4 years experience, have we had the right size of government, or have we been too big or too small?
I think we have the right size, actually. I don't think that the Wyoming state government is overbearing. It's not oversized. It's very lean. We have cut it to become very lean, but it gets things done. And what it gets done is it creates opportunities for everybody. And that's the role of government, is to create a level playing field so that everybody can thrive. And I think we've done a good job at that, and we've cut it down to the minimum size that we need to get that done. So I think it is now the right size.
Okay. Yeah. So as you continue on in your paper, you present the competitive tactics, and then you move into everything about the bill. You talk about a very dangerous situation. Tell us about that danger that you're talking about, that you're referencing. It's kind of an emotional. Some would say, well, that's emotional blackmail. Yeah. That's emotional blackmail. You're just creating fear. Well, take the Wyoming Business Council.
Right.
Some say that government's role is not to distribute money to the private sector, and it should be this and this and this, not picking winners and losers. What would you respond to that with?
Couple of points there. Number one, I don't think that the Wyoming Business Council is picking winners and losers. I reject the premise.
That's too cliche, huh?
Yeah, it's not that it's a cliche. It's wrong. It's just not true. Everybody has the same equal opportunity to apply for assistance. And number two, I reject the notion that it is distributing money, because a lot of the programs that the Wyoming Business Council does are loan programs, low-interest loans. So the businesses pay it back. They're not getting handouts. They're paying it back as they grow and thrive. So it's not a handout. in the sense that some people might think there are some grant programs, but mostly they're, I think, loan programs, low interest loans to help them grow their
What's
business.
the budget of the Wyoming Business Council annually? Do you know?
I do not know that.
I only found the leader of that organization, Josh Durrell, income somewhere around $24,000 monthly, $288,000 annually by reports. Now, like my other research, that could be in error as well. So I don't receive that check, so I don't know that. And yet a lot of people would say, "Oh my goodness, really? That sounds like more than many of our political leaders, governor and what have you." But no matter what, there's a lot of money there. If we save it from the Business Council, might we invest it in education and make, as the Wyoming Constitution calls for, education at the University of Wyoming to be as near to free as possible?
Well, if they were going to save it for education, they wouldn't propose a $60 million cut to the university. Right. They're actually cutting university.
Yeah,
so
40, was it 60?
Well, there's $40 million cut to the to the block grant, okay. But there's other cuts as well. They're taking $6 million out from the to help pay for the.
So university administration, the trustees will determine how that $40 million block grant is distributed internal to the organization?
Yes.
Okay.
The block grant is not tied to any specific program, although the legislature has taken to adding footnotes to say, of this block grant, you may or may not. You must do this. You shall not do that. So they're trying to. The legislature tries often to micromanage the university's budget through footnotes, which I think is problematic. We have a board of trustees to do that work, and the legislature is trying to preempt the board of trustees, and I think that's a really bad idea. Leave the governance of the university to the trustees, who understand what they're doing. But getting back to the picking winners and losers, let's accept that. I reject the premise, but I'll accept your premise for the moment that we are picking winners and losers. At least we get some winners when we do that, right?
Yeah.
If you cut the budget altogether, we don't have any winners. We just have losers.
Or does the free market determine it? Historically,
yes.
Perhaps some would argue that it does not.
The free market will say to a business, if you want to open up a new business, don't go to Wyoming. The free market will send you to Colorado.
Okay.
Right? So the free market will work against us. If we don't have some incentive program in Wyoming to help attract businesses here, they're going to go elsewhere. That's the free market. So I don't think the free market is going to be their friend.
So the lower price education, Wyoming to CSU, would not be enough of a compelling factor to keep Wyoming in its current state.
If we start cutting programs that students want, we're going to lose students.
Entire colleges going away, or what have you.
Or entire programs. We've already lost the gender studies program, for example. So there's other programs that might attract students. If we can't fund the programs, we can't operate the programs properly, that makes us less competitive in the market. So every cut that has been, and that's why I said this is a dangerous game that the Freedom Caucus is playing. You said that's not an emotional term. I think the danger is that it's going to backfire. We're going to lose our students. We're going to lose our ability to attract students, and it's a very dangerous game because it's going to hurt the economy of Wyoming.
In the Freedom Caucus is playing games with the budget. Your January 14th piece, you talk about full funding's possible. The governor has submitted a balanced budget. Governor Gordon has submitted a balanced budget. And you, from House District 13 perspective, you're supportive of that going through 100%.
Yes. The governor's budget. So there is no budget crisis in the sense that we are not short of money. We have plenty of money. Our funding streams are stable. We have a huge surplus, bigger than any other state in terms of per capita. So there's no budget there's no fiscal imperative to cut. The only reason that we are cutting is to advance a political agenda. And that is what I am calling out with this article.
Okay. What other points would you like to summarize from your article, Ken, with respect to this? And I want to lead into your more recent piece that was a single page on the Pew study.
Right. Yeah. So, and that was the point I was alluding to a moment ago, that we have a gigantic surplus. So every state's different size. You have a very small budget because we're a small state, so you can't compare dollars to dollars. But so what the Pew research group did, Pew is a very nonpartisan, well-respected research organization, and they did a study in 2024 using 2024 budgets for all 50 states. How many days of government could you fund using your discretionary savings? Right, and that's what we call the LISRA, our Legislative Stabilization Reserve Account.
A rainy day fund.
The rainy day fund, yes, that's what, and most states have them, and they compared how many days of your state budget can you fund out of your reserves. And the low, I think, was New Jersey. They had 2 days worth of reserves, so they're in trouble. They're in big trouble. Most states are in the 40s and 50s of days. The average, I think, was 41 days.
We're talking billions in this account,
so
right?
1.6 billion. And California has, 30 billion,
right?
But that only covers them for 30 days because it's a gigantic budget. But we have 1.6 billion dollars in our LISRA account right now. And that's only one account. We have 5 or 6 savings accounts. That's the only one that Pew studied, because that's the one that we have that's discretionary.
Okay.
We have access to it. The others are locked in for specific purposes.
Like retirement and different things like that.
Yeah, and the education foundation, things like that. So the Pew study showed that the median for all 50 states was 41 days. Most states have 41 days worth of money saved up. We have 6 times that. We have 301 or 302 days worth of. We can run our government for 10 months based just on the LISRA. We have, and that's by the second high. That's the highest in the country. The second highest was Alaska at 144. So we're double the nearest. We have more money saved up than any other state by far. So there is no financial imperative to make cuts. In fact, the cuts that the Freedom Caucus is debating right now the debate is, where do they put the savings? Do we put the savings in the LISRA? Do we put them in some other permanent fund? They're trying to figure out where to put the savings.
Can taxation be reduced to the public?
We have reduced the taxation.
If those savings are realized, is that possible?
Most of the savings, most of the taxes that are being saved are from extraction fees. It's not even individuals that are paying taxes that the money's being saved from. We're going to give it back to the mineral companies that are extracting our resources and selling them. There is a proposal. We're going to talk more about further cuts to the property tax, which doesn't really affect the state any. Cutting the real estate taxes, all it does is it hurts the local communities. It hurts the counties. It hurts the municipalities. It hurts the school districts. It doesn't hurt the state government, because that real estate tax doesn't come to the state government. It goes to local governments. So we can cut those taxes, and still we're cutting state programs, and that money is not coming out of real estate tax. There is some coming out of the sales tax. The sales tax is a big piece of our income, so that might be cut. But then there's another proposal to eliminate real estate taxes altogether and replace it with sales tax.
How many people in the population of Wyoming, in the general public, do you feel understand the dynamics of the state budget? If we went together to a computer, could we find the budget in its entirety, and would we be able to print it with a ream of paper together?
No, I'm not sure I understand it. Right? It's It's extremely complicated. It is not transparent. It's very complicated. We have a lot of rules. Some are in the Constitution that certain taxes must be devoted to certain things, and it's so complicated. I have a hard time getting my arms around it myself, and that's my job. Anybody else, good luck, right? It's very we get a daily sheet called the Goldenrod, which is all the different accounts and how much they've gone up or down, and how all the proposals that we're passing affect different accounts up and down. It's about 4 or 5 pages of very fine print, and I don't understand most of it. It's really very difficult to follow.
Right. So as challenging as that is for you in the legislature to understand, it seems completely reasonable that the general public would have so many questions, and trust would be questioned when our own legislative representatives struggle with so many aspects of it. How can we trust it? I think the tendency is to want to simplify many things, and oversimplification can mean people's jobs, and perhaps those are lost, or entire departments of a school can be cut as you're facing. Those are some of the ugly consequences that you're talking about in your piece, correct?
Yeah. Cutting the Wyoming Business Council, for example, is not simplifying. That's cutting. That's causing damage.
And you write that that's cutting for cut's sake. That's
it's cutting for the sake of cutting. And again, it might just be hostage taking. They probably understand that there's a lot of support for the Wyoming Business Council, and they're going to have to give it back. But what are they going to demand in return? That's the game they're playing. It's the zero-sum game. All right, I'll give you back this if you give me something else. And what's the something else that they want? I don't know. We'll find out. And it's probably going to be something that aligns with their...
How fast do those announcements come from your fellow legislators? You know, is it almost immediate, or is it trickle in, or how does it happen?
It's almost immediate.
Or both.
It happens
all of the above.
It happens very quickly. So what's going to happen next is we'll introduce the budget. We'll go through the budget page by page and agency by agency, and that'll take a day or two to go through, and then people will start proposing amendments. So this is going to be a long process of probably hundreds of amendments that different members will want to propose. Somebody's going to propose restoring the cuts to the University of Wyoming. Somebody's going to propose restoring SNAP benefits. Somebody's going to propose restoring the Business Council. You know, there's going to be a million different amendments that we're going to debate and vote on, which is why there's not going to be time to do anything else.
4 weeks.
In 4 weeks, we're going to be debating, and so we got to do it in one chamber first, and then the other chamber gets a crack at it, and then we have to reconcile them. It's going to be a very lengthy, difficult. But these amendments, we find out about them the day of. You know, you walk into the chamber that morning, and last night somebody proposed this amendment, and now it's being published and debated the next morning. Sometimes an amendment comes in during the day. You know, at 10 o'clock in the morning, somebody puts an amendment which you debate at 2. So it happens very quickly.
2 in the morning.
Well, we're not going to go to 2 in the morning, but we're not going to midnight.
Right.
We've had several sessions that since I've been in the legislature that have gone past 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
an intense session coming.
Yes.
How do constituents best reach you? Perhaps support. You know, when you're elected to represent everyone in your district.
Yep.
And regardless of affiliation, everyone.
Yes.
And yet, how does somebody valuably participate in the process, or is it too late once sessions begin?
It's not too late when sessions begun. And you make a great point that I represent everybody, and the problem is that not every one of my constituents agrees with each other. right? So I'll get a lot of constituents say one thing, the others say the opposite thing, and I've got to make a judgment, and I've got to make a decision based on evidence and argument and logic. So the best, for me personally, and I'm not going to speak for any other legislator, for me personally, the best way to contact me is email. Email my ken.chestek@yoleg.gov is my email address, and that's probably the best way to. If you try and text me, my phone's going to blow up.
Yeah,
and, I'll get 1,000 emails a day. If I get 1,000 texts, there's no way to look at them all.
You mentioned WYOLEG.gov.
Yes.
And that is an outstanding resource for so many things.
Yes.
The more familiar citizens can be with that
Yes.
Site, you're going to have a lot of access. There's actually video of proceedings in the legislature happening, discussions, arguments,
Yes.
presentations, proposals, and votes, and you name it. There's access to that, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. The Wyoming legislature is extremely transparent. The wyoleg.gov website is a great. If you want to understand what's going on, you need to know how to navigate that website. There's a lot there. There's a ton of stuff there, and it's updated almost real time. As amendments are being proposed and things are being popped into the schedule, they'll show up almost immediately, real time, on that website. But there's also a YouTube channel in which every session, every committee hearing is being live streamed in real time. You can watch in real time as these things are happening. So,
and the searching is really reasonable. If you Google search
yes,
a particular Judiciary Committee, Wyoming State Legislature, and you're very likely to get the active live opportunity to view right there as one of the options that comes up in the first page.
Yes, and you can get the live stream, and you can also get every hearing or committee meeting that has happened in the last several years. So you can go back and look at the debates from prior bills in prior years.
So you bring up the importance of email to you.
Yeah.
I believe it's an organization, Honor Wyoming, seems to be screaming about their concern is that emails aren't making it necessarily to the legislatures. Is that true?
So,
or is there part of that that's true?
It's partly.
It seems inconceivable to me.
It's mostly false. What they're complaining about is not anything that the Legislative Service Office is doing or any member of the legislature. It's not an intentional decision at all. It's basically a function of Outlook. It's a Microsoft program for email, Outlook. Outlook has a filter for focused or suspected spam, and it automatic, and whatever Microsoft does to filter things into one box or the other.
I believe this is House Bill 156 or something like that that we're talking about. But you say it's mostly not true. You feel you're getting all your email.
Every single email is available to me, but it is it showing up in focused. So there's.
Do you have a spam folder like I have on my Gmail
and Microsoft
account?
has its own algorithm for deciding what it thinks is spam and what it thinks is not spam. So what it thinks is not spam shows up in my focused folder. So
and you probably verify through filtering through your spam.
Right, and I do, and the other folder, I forget, it's not unfocused, but it's something. It's a spam filter of some sort. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, okay.
But it shows up in another tab. I'll check that tab, and that's the one that usually has a lot of stuff, and it's usually a lot of Honor Wyoming stuff. And if I want to look at it, I can.
Right.
I still have I have access to it.
In terms of where we started in this conversation, what context is information handling, be it accurate or less than accurate?
So in a
is that a subcategory to the competitive?
No, that is a tactic.
Okay.
It's a negotiation tactic. How do you use information? How do you share information? In competitive tactics, you try and reveal as little as possible. You keep your information closely held, right? In a cooperative context, you are more freely sharing information with each other because you're trying to find the win-win, and you need to know what both sides need to get to make a win-win. But the competitive context is information is guarded and it's held closely and not shared. So yeah, information sharing is one of the tactics that you use in any negotiating context.
You are in your profession, your education in law. You're probably the most well suited to answer this question that's come in from the audience, and it comes with respect to the surface water drainage program. A utility fund was adopted December 4th in 2024 in the community of Laramie. And the statute, Wyoming Statute 1610-105E, talks about all fees or taxes funding any utility should be presented to the electorate. Right. Yet there seems to be a conflict. Are you familiar with that subject going into this session?
That's a local issue, so I haven't focused a lot of attention on it. I am noddingly familiar with it's a debate between whether it's a fee or a tax.
Okay.
Right? Taxes have to be voted on by the people. Fees do not. So a fee is if you receive for example, water. You buy water. I consume water. There's a meter on my house that shows me how much water I've consumed, and I have to pay for that water. That does not need to go to the voters because that's a fee for service.
So any funding, the language that says any funding does not refer, even though it says any funding, we're talking about fees versus tax, even within the language used in 1610-105E that says black and white, any funding must go to the electorate. That's the contention, and we probably can presume. I know from Senator Crum visiting in, I believe it was October or November. He shared draft of something he hopes will clarify that going forward. So in the legislature, it will that topic come to you in the House as well, or will it not?
I have seen Senator Crum's bill. I'm not sure if it's been introduced yet, and I haven't studied it enough. But so
it'll get presented. It's being considered even before this. I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's got to be introduced, and I haven't seen the introduced version of it. I know
Okay.
We talked about.
I only saw a draft also. So
we talked about it in the Select Water Committee.
Mm-hmm.
So I have seen it. I haven't studied it closely, so I don't know for sure. But so
where do you think we're going to settle in with that? Do you have a hypothesis on where you think we'll gather?
I don't. But let me go back for a second and explain. The language that you're citing comes out of Title 16, which talks about taxes. Mm-hmm. There's also Article 15, which talks about fees. So when you ask the question about the section out of Title 16, you're assuming that it's a tax. But there is an earlier decision, is this a tax or a fee? Does Title 15 apply or does Title 16 apply? That's where the issue is.
What was the legislative's intent? What do you believe the legislative intent was? 15 should rule or 16?
I think it's a close question. I have looked at it. I think it's a very close question. It depends on how it's structured, and that's why the city has been very careful to try and determine the impervious surface area on every parcel, mm-hmm. and the more impervious surface there is, the more runoff there is. So they're arguing that they're providing a service to you by removing the water runoff from your impervious surfaces. So they're working as hard as they can to make it fit under Title 15 to say this is a fee for service, the service being we're removing excess water from your property. And
has a competitive context been established in this vignette with respect to whether nonprofits, sovereign entities should be charged this fee, or not charge this fee? I mean, is that one of those type of contextual relationships?
No, I don't see this as a competitive thing. This is
So it's not a negotiation with that respect?
I think this is an honest policy dispute.
Okay.
And
it comes out of conflict in the law or the statutes?
Well, no, I don't think the law is in conflict. I think it makes perfect sense to say that fee for service is a different thing than taxes. A tax is we extract money from a taxpayer and use it for whatever we think. We're redirecting that money to whatever we think is appropriate as a government, right? So we can take money from this thing and devote it to something else. That's
so
a tax.
Constituents wouldn't. Who pays the fee? Constituents.
Right.
So constituent fee or constituent tax,
right.
They say you're still coming in my pocket.
Right. But the question is, are you getting anything directly for your payment, or you're not? Is it more indirect? So if it's a fee for service, I, the constituent, have received a benefit that I'm paying for.
What do you think that payment in lieu of taxes, backfilling? Do you see some of that perhaps being part of the conversation as the University of Wyoming itself holds 16,000 acres of property in the Albany County, just in Albany County. County number 5 to us is number 1
right.
Among 23, but there's over 200,000 additional acres held by the state of Wyoming in Albany County alone. Those are not taxed. Those are not contributing to the draw and the demand on fire safety or public works type of functions that benefit everybody equally, or even visitors coming through a community. Do you think that the payment in lieu of taxes conversation will rise high this session in some way to deal with this question at hand?
I don't know that this session is any different than any other session in terms of that. I think I call them pilot, payment in lieu of tax.
Oh, there
pilot
you go.
agreement.
Okay. Yeah. That makes more sense to me.
I have a lot of experience with pilot agreements when I was in practice. I practiced law in Pennsylvania for many years, and for a lot of years I was sort of the go-to guy in the state of Pennsylvania for trying to determine whether hospitals should be tax exempt. The law there was that institutions of purely public charity did not pay tax. They were tax exempt. And people saying, well, how is this hospital that's charging me hundreds of thousands of dollars for my care a charity? It's not giving me anything. It's charging me through the roof for everything. So I was hired by a lot of municipalities to challenge the tax exempt status of hospitals, and I started winning some cases because they were pretty egregiously, aggressively going after money. And we ended up settling those on pilot agreements. So they retained their tax exempt status, but they paid a percentage of what the tax bill would have been had they been taxable. And I was getting as high as 50%. So I know about pilot agreements. I think pilot agreements, it relates to the idea I was talking about earlier, fee for service versus taxes. The lower municipal governments lower on the hierarchy scale can't tax the higher ones. So a county is lower than the state, so it can't tax the state. But if it provides a service to the state, does the state have to provide it? And that's another example of the distinction between taxes and fees. And yeah, a lot of times it's fair to require fees, and that's where the pilot comes in, the payment in lieu of tax. I'm paying for the services that you're giving me. For water, for example, that's easy to determine. You put a meter on the line, and you know how much water you consumed, and you know how much that costs. You can charge. That's easy. The services that are paid through for taxes, like fire protection and police protection, other things that come, there's no direct service. You're taking a tax and funding it through tax revenue, determining how much a pilot agreement should be is tricky. And that part is a negotiation with the nonprofit organization or the state entity.
Would it be sound principle to, right now, the last number I heard was $1.67 per 500 units, be it square feet or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was per 500 square feet, I think.
This is on the runoff?
And this is on the runoff deal. Would we be able to avoid pilots and all these other considerations if we simply raised or reduced the base rate? Would that affect everyone equally, perhaps, in terms of institution or private citizen, so that it was I mean, if you have 4,000 acres and I have 1 acre, and we pay a base rate of $1 each versus $1.67, perhaps just a lowering of that rate might make some things that hit private businesses in this community $860 a month increase to one retailer. As residents go, I think the average was $10. My own $10.02 a month in terms of that. But with many private citizens, cost of living increases haven't increased for retirees, state retirees. I saw a notation that over 20 years history of state retirement, retirees, employees had seen an increase. What had retirees seen? They hadn't progressed as well as active employees with respect to that. There's so many things. I don't envy you going into a budget session. I got to tell you, as you do this, it's really important that people ask you the questions as early as possible in every regard, regardless of what their concern is, their issue, because you have to really strategize. All your time has to be, it's got to be the most impact for the least amount of time, and it's limited. It is absolutely finite. It is not an open book, and relative to, you have to go into special sessions in order to answer questions after that 4-week session.
The state gets a lot of bang for the bucks for the money they pay us as salary. Put it that way. I haven't figured out what the effective hourly rate is.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. It's discouraging.
It would be.
It's discouraging.
I'm not sure I can make minimum wage doing this job.
Right. You're gonna run into labor laws, huh?
Yeah, right. No.
Ken, you have been most gracious with your time. I most genuinely appreciate your time in Studio 255 here at the Laramie Plains Civic Center. I want to give all guests the opportunity for the final summation of our time together. Perhaps you prepared for something that would be asked, but we didn't cover it, and you'd like that time now. The time's yours. If you don't mind, will you give us the wrap up and do us the favor as we close this time together? You're always welcome back. You're always welcome throughout session, during session, after session. I will always extend the invitation to every elected official to educate the public. This is, radio was created in the public good to serve the public, and that's an information piece. I never want to hear that media didn't do all it can to cover something. So the time's yours.
Okay. Yeah. I thank you for the invitation. I appreciate that. During session, no way. I think I've alluded to how crazy this is going to be. We have long days, long nights. Things are moving so fast. Just trying to keep up with the workflow is next to impossible. So things like this during session, impossible. But
get those emails in. That's your best bet.
Get the emails in, and I will read as many of them as I can. That's what I tend to do at night going to bed. I'll read the emails for tomorrow morning's stuff. The only issue I might want to lift up for people to pay attention to is a bill that I have been fighting in the Judiciary Committee on the library, the book banning bill.
Okay.
There is an effort to remove what's defined as sexually explicit materials from public libraries and school libraries. It basically bans health education, sex education materials, anything dealing with gender identity, anything that puberty transitions for young people, those books would be banned. And I think it's a terrible bill. I've been fighting against it. It has been sponsored by the Judiciary Committee on which I sit, but it's still got to pass, go through the usual process now. So,
who sits on the Judiciary Committee? How many? What's it comprised of?
It's the same mix. There's 9 House members, and then there's 5 Senate members. Okay. And it passed 11-2 at the Judiciary Committee after it had been being amended heavily. It was the original version was absurd. The current version is bad. It was made less bad by some amendments, some of which I proposed some amendments, none of which passed, but one of the amendments that I proposed, a different one that did the same thing, did pass. So it's a bad bill. It's going to allow certain parents to tell other parents that your children may not read the books that I don't like, and that's a problem. That's not freedom. That's oppression. So I would like to have people pay attention to that bill, contact your legislators. I've gotten more emails on that bill alone than I have on any other bills that I've been in for 3 years. Wow. I think at one point I counted had like 900 emails on that topic just for the committee meeting. Yeah. Of those 900, I think 890 were against the bill and 10 supported the bill. It was dramatic. So.
How many legislative service office staff are dedicated to you as a rep?
I have no dedicated member of the LSO. LSO has a small staff. It's one of the smallest in the country. They work hard. They're miracle workers. They're amazing people, but they're not assigned to us individually. Right. If we have a project, we give it to LSO, and then somebody on the staff will pick it up and work on it. And they do fantastic work. They're fantastic people. I love them to death. And they're nonpartisan. They work for all of us, and they do their best to do what we want them to do and need them to do. So I have no staff at all. It's me.
Yeah. Ken Chestek, House District 13 representative in Albany County, Wyoming, our guest today on the Talk Shop. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Chestek.